Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Welcome. Everyone is in attendance tonight, and glad to have you here. So we'll get started. We have a number of information items to start. So first, we will begin with the staff update, and I'll call on Fire Chief Alan Long to get us started.
Good evening. Just a couple of things. Had a significant structure fire, 82nd Lamar, was a little accidental, electrical in nature. And then two other items. We held a badge pinning ceremony on November 7th for 11 members that completed their probationary period. So they come in, they do an 8-week academy, and then they have a lot of testing and hurdles they have to complete in their probationary year before they get their actual badge and their helmet shield. So they completed that. We hired them basically a year ago. And so we did that and held that for them on the 7th. And then we got a notification that Captain Doug Hall is retiring after 30 years of service. That's it.
Great. Well, thank you, and please congratulate the new and departing members of your department.
Question on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So is the year typical? So we brought them on board and a year later they get badged?
Yes, that's typical because they have to get through their probationary period, which is a lot of testing to make sure that they meet their probationary testing, which is a 4, 6, 8, and 12-month testing period, which is everything from streets to operation of equipment, location of equipment, district study.
Are they serving on crews before they get badged? Or?
Yes, they're serving there with crews. 8-week academy, they're with us 40 hours a week at the training center. Then they get assigned to a crew. The crew helps them through their probationary period in conjunction with our TOs at the training center.
Thank you.
Great. Then we'll turn it over to Police Chief Doreen first.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good to see everyone this evening. So just to brief you on a couple things, a number of us attended the International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference. It's attended by about 18,000 people internationally. I was able to speak on two different topics. One's going to be centered around police leadership and culture. The other one was centered on new chiefs in different positions and what that looks like for aspiring chiefs, and so that was really good. We hosted Trunk or Treat. That was another success, so we appreciate the continued support with that as well. Our department started the Axon body-worn camera training. So we had Axon in the department this week going through both commission and professional staff, those that are going to be carrying body-worn cameras, and starting the initial training and rolling out with those. And I believe some of our officers might be wearing the Axon body-worn cameras as we're transitioning out. They almost have to have double because they got to be synced with the cars. So the cars are being done at the same time. Two motors, what that looks like. We were able to promote one of our officers, Gage Grimes, to sergeant, the rank of sergeant, effective November 2nd. And we have hired 4 police officers and a manager for police support services. It was previously held by a captain position, and we've reclassified that to a professional staff position. So that person oversees our records, report text, and our property and evidence section. And some upcoming events we have is Operation Turkey Lurkey, as you guys know, is on the radar. And we're hosting a retiree informational sharing session. And so we have a very robust retiree contingent with our police department. And so we have a lot of exciting things going on, as you guys know. And so I want to bring them back and say, although they may not have been here to see this stuff, it's their legacy and their work that they've done previously that set our department up for success. So we're going to be talking about the technology improvements. We're going to be talking about the real-time information center and talking about the leadership and culture items going on through our department. And so I know we have over 20 people attending. So kind of a high-level overview to make sure they still feel connected and a part of our police department family.
Great, thank you. Next, we'll stick with you, Chief Joe Kirst, for the police training facility construction update.
Yes, so the project is currently still on schedule and within budget. And the project is out to bid, and we plan to bring the guaranteed maximum price task order to Public Safety Committee in either January or February, with construction to begin in spring of 2026. And we're still working to identify long-term usage and repurpose of vacated spaces. And so a design agreement for this work will accompany the guaranteed maximum price at the Public Safety Committee meeting. So more to come on that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right.
I've got a question on that.
Sure.
On the repurposing space, does our decision to move to a bigger city hall adjust previous thinking on space allocation?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Councilmember. I think it probably does long term look at that. I know that we're not doing as much reconstruction within the SCAFE building, kind of an unknown. But for this, what we're looking at trying to do is OBCAT is in a rented facility. And so with certain parts of our units moving out, can they actually move to SCAFE? Can we repurpose and not pay rent? What does that look like? And so we're trying to maximize not being in 7 buildings and where we can do a cost savings to our taxpayers and move within those vacated spaces. And so I do think long term it will have an impact on that.
Thanks.
Great, thanks. So that concludes our regular updates that we have each month. And next we are inviting folks from our narcotics unit to come to the table to present on recent and new drug trends in the city of Overland Park and state of Kansas. So I've got Major Miller, Captain Twaddle, and Sergeant Moore on the list. And anyone else who wants to join us here too?
So I'm not going to sit down because I'm just going to say I'm excited to introduce some of our rising stars in this space. Captain Twaddle is our resident expert, recently promoted, but was the supervision of that unit. And Sergeant Stephanie Moore is succeeding him in that unit. So you've heard from me plenty. I'm going to let the experts fill in this space and this information item. And then if you have any questions, we can all jump in. But I'm going to let those two give you an excellent presentation.
Thanks, Major. Great, take it away.
Thank you for having us. First of all, do we have the presentation? We have a PowerPoint presentation that's prepared. Where's our guy?
I hope so.
Where's our guy?
It would be helpful, I guess, while we wait. I want to talk about kind of what the mission is of a drug unit, what a narcotics unit's mission is. And truly what we try to do is we want to reduce the availability of illegal drugs in the community. We also want to reduce the impact of those illegal drugs in the community, what that looks like. We do that through proactive enforcement. We do it through intelligence-driven investigations, collaboration with members of the community, different community partnerships, as well as regional policing partners. That could be a state, local, or federal partner to work together to address the issues. We also do that through holding offenders accountable, but there's also a prevention piece to it. There's an education piece to it. It's a really, I believe it's a human. As far as prevention and enforcement, that could be a patrol officer responding to a call for service, it could be a school resource officer offering mentorship. Community policing, we have our OPCAT unit, very robust unit who has officers who are focused in substance use disorder and addressing those members of the community. So it really is a kind of holistic approach to enforcing and tackling drugs. So for me, while we get this pulled up, these investigations are near and dear to me. I've spent over half of my 20-year career at the police department investigating drugs, whether that's being a detective in the Special Investigations Unit or being a member of the Drug Enforcement Administration Task Force here in Kansas City. And I also came back and led the unit prior to my promotion. So I've seen it from, really our efforts through a number of different lenses, local, federal, as well as a supervisory lens. And I think what we do here is, I think we're in for the right reason. We're trying to not only drive demand down, but we're also trying to limit the supply by targeting sources of supply in the community. But like I mentioned earlier, those regional partnerships are important. We're lucky in Overland Park. You don't hear about drug labs, clandestine labs, those sorts of things. So we really do, when we work in investigation, we really do lean on our partners to partner with us and help us, sometimes from afar, from their jurisdictions, because drugs don't know a certain jurisdiction. So we do lean on those partnerships and those relationships that we've built through the years. Next, I was going to talk about some of the different trends, with investigating drugs. For two reasons. I think drug investigations are just the most difficult investigations you can conduct in the police department, and that's twofold. One is we're constantly chasing trends, constantly chasing analogs of drugs. It used to be you've heard about all the classic drugs, marijuana and methamphetamine and things like that. Now you have analogs. Today we're going to talk about the 7-OH analog drugs. We're going to talk about different derivatives, fentanyl, those sorts of things. That's what makes it difficult. That, as well as society, we're constantly trying to make sure that we're following what society wants from the police department, what the community wants from the police department, and sometimes that changes over the course of history. And so for those two reasons, it is a difficult crime type to investigate, but also it is rewarding to not only, like I said, conduct that enforcement, but also put our efforts towards prevention and education as well. So it is a rewarding field to be involved in.
You've got your presentation.
What slide would you like to?
Great. If you could just put it on the agenda really quick. The next one. So I'm going to start off talking about the structure of the Criminal Investigations Division and the Special Investigations Unit. I've talked a little bit about drug trends. We're going to kind of go through just a primer on what we're seeing in the community, some of the classic drugs as well as some of the. Oh, sure. Perfect. Thank you, sir. The current drug trends, as well as some of the drug types you may or may not have heard of that we're starting to see in the community. Talk about visibility with the community crime map, how to access the community crime map. So talk about legislation updates and language, and as well as the SR and OPCAT approach to the education prevention pieces. So our current SIU structure, as you can read up there, is comprised of one sergeant, a crime analyst that's fully assigned to that unit, 6 in-house detectives, and 2 DEA task force officers. So that's what the in-house SIU unit looks like. I would say the major focus of SIU is narcotics, but you're going to see the auto thefts are listed on there as well as weapons, and that's a new iteration of the unit. And the thought is these are 2 co-occurring crime types that a lot of times often go with narcotics. You have members of the community who may be, involved in auto thefts or involved in weapons cases to either fund or to aid their efforts to seek narcotics. So you see those co-occurring crime types in there, as well as criminal intelligence. Criminal intelligence obviously hand in hand with those crime types as well, so there's that aspect of the SIU unit. I don't mean to insult anybody in here with this photograph of what marijuana looks like. I think we've all probably seen this either in media or somewhere else, but marijuana is still illegal to possess in Kansas. It makes it difficult because we do border a couple states that have legalized marijuana. You can go 5 minutes east and purchase marijuana from a shop and then transport it back through the city. So we do still see that. It's the most common drug type that we see. It's still a Schedule I drug. It's been tabled for now at the federal level, but we still do see that. We also see what are called THC concentrates, where basically they're extracting, people can extract the THC from a marijuana plant and make a much more potent drug type to consume. So I'm just showing that to show you the trends with THC concentrates. It's also put in foods, oftentimes referred to as edibles, in gummies or other.
I found the presentation. You want me to put it on there?
Like I said, still legal in Kansas. Methamphetamine is still fairly common in the Kansas City metro.
Oh, but we can't hear him talk.
I didn't think about that.
That's so weird.
Laboratory. One was a DMT laboratory and one was unknown. But they are uncommon. You used to hear in the 90s and early 2000s about the prevalence of meth labs in the area. More and more uncommon. What we might see in the metropolitan area is called a conversion lab. And that's when liquid methamphetamine is transported to the area, and then there's a conversion process where that liquid is dried out into a solid state or crystallized form, and that's how it's sold locally. So if you hear about a lab anymore when talking about methamphetamine, it's a conversion laboratory. Methamphetamine is relatively inexpensive. That's why it's prevalent still. A kilogram amount of methamphetamine, about 2.2 pounds, in the metropolitan area is going to be about $3,500 to $5,000, which is relatively inexpensive. Whereas you go to cocaine, that price jumped up to about $25,000 per kilogram. A lot of times, different demographics partake in these different drugs just based on means.
Wait till they hear about a kilo of 7-OH.
That's just because of the different
I know that's right.
Cocaine is also a stimulant. It has made a resurgence. If we talk to any confidential sources, or really any young adults who are part of the party scene or go to any sort of bars or establishments, you hear about the prevalence of cocaine back in the community. It's really made a resurgence. And like I said, cocaine is very expensive.
Yeah, it's
that's one
coming
thing
up
that
in
keeps a little bit of the demand down with cocaine.
What is?
708.
Moving
Oh,
on to,
you're looking at it?
fentanyl, you'll notice I
Oh, yeah, I'm
skipped
gonna send
heroin.
it
I don't have a slide on heroin. That's because fentanyl really has replaced heroin in the community as the drug choice for individuals who may have a substance use disorder regarding opioids. Fentanyl has really taken over. We don't see heroin as often as we used to. Talking about talking about fentanyl, I'm going to pass it to Detective Ruth, who's sitting behind me, and he's going to talk a little bit about fentanyl, 7-OH, and some of the legislation, as he's one of our experts in that.
So fentanyl, it's maintained its prevalence in the Kansas City metro area as well as across the nation. One newer trend that we're seeing with fentanyl is the form that is presented in the last 3 or 4 years. Fentanyl was most commonly pressed into counterfeit street pills or tablets, such as the blue M30s. We saw the legislation in the media with one pill could kill and all those different advertising streams. It's lately, in talking to some of the people that we interview, the pills are kind of becoming a more scarce product, whereas the users are primarily focused on acquiring the powder fentanyl or raw fentanyl. That's just because it's a more known quantity rather than an unknown quantity of how much pure fentanyl you're going to get in a pill form. Another trend that we're seeing with fentanyl, it's not really a new trend. It's rather recent, is you're seeing other street narcotics that are adulterated with fentanyl, such as cocaine, especially stimulants like cocaine and methamphetamine. We're seeing them combined with fentanyl. That's what they call a speedball, is where you're getting the physiological effects of a downer as well as an upper. And I just added one thing in the slide. Just last month in Kansas City, Kansas, there was a bust of about 9 pounds of fentanyl that was seized in a residence. And just to kind of, put that out there, that's about enough to kill 2 million people. And so that was taken in one bust. So a new trend that we're seeing in the Kansas City metro area is what they colloquially call 7-0 or hospital heroin, or not hospital heroin, but gas station heroin. So 7-0 is 7-hydroxymethylgynine, and it's often marketed with kratom just because kratom is a natural substance that's found in a tree in southeastern Asia. And there's small amounts of natural 7-0 that is in kratom. What's alarming, what these different unregulated companies are doing, is they're creating synthetic versions of 7-0, which they have higher potency and a higher concentration, and also higher addictive rates than the natural form of 7-0. It's more addictive. It also acts as an opiate. So what it does is it binds to the opioid receptors in your brain, which also means that Narcan will work on an overdose. These are found in different smoke shops and gas stations in and around the Kansas City metro area. So right now, 7-0 in the synthetic form, 50 times stronger than kratom and about 14 to 22 times stronger than morphine. So 7-0 is unregulated. What that means is there's no rhyme or reason and there's no consistent pattern. It's not made in an FDA regulated laboratory. So one company might have a stronger version of 7-0 than a different company. So, pill in this packet is going to have a higher potency than a 7-0 infused drink or edible. So this is some verbatim language that was in the Kansas State Child Death Review Board in their 2025 annual report, where they're essentially saying that they want to outlaw all THC and kratom-related products. By proxy, 7-0 is going to be a kratom-related product just because it's related. And also at the bottom is going to be some public policy recommendations that is going to be put forward before the 2026 session in the Kansas legislature. All right. right, shifting over to our community crime map. This is a public forum where they can use that URL, and they can on the left side they can see different crime types of what's going on in and around the city and different communities, whether it be property crimes, persons crimes, drug crimes, or motor vehicle thefts. So the public's able to see what's going on in their community. Go ahead. So this statute, distribution leading to death or great bodily harm, this is a pretty new statute. It was created in 2013. And since 2019, Overland Park, we have successfully had 8 cases either charged to the state or federally. Overland Park, we also had the first guilty plea case on this statute, and we also had the first case convicted by a jury. These are relatively long cases to investigate, and we treat them just like we would a homicide, because in our eyes, it's a homicide. And they take about 6 months to investigate, and the approximate prison term are about 144 months to 220 months in prison. We have a really close working relationship with the DA's office. They have our full support, and we have their full support, and we've had pretty good luck getting these cases charged and prosecuted.
All right, so I just want to touch on some of the legislative changes. Reference the bill that he mentioned. House Representative Alan Rivas did present this bill. It's House Bill 2230, and the goal of it was to ban kratom and its derivatives in city Kansas. The bill did not pass. He does plan to present the bill again in the 2026 session, although he does not anticipate it's going to gain any traction. We are exploring different options of banning kratom in our convenience stores at a city municipal level, just banning the commercial sale of the product, but we're in the early stages of exploring that. In the meantime, we have had local jurisdictions in Johnson County serve warrants on different convenience shops who are selling these THC products. At this time, the district attorney's office does not want to proceed with charging, so we're going to take an education approach. And in the coming months, we're going to be working with our businesses and send them a letter and educate them, requesting that they do cease selling these products. However, if they continue to do so, we don't have any legal recourse to stop them from doing it. Regarding education in the public, SIU does provide annual training to the school resource officer unit to just let them know of ongoing trends that they may see in their schools. Our priority is just educating the school staff, the kids, and the parents on the different drugs and how they can be harmful to the students. OPCAT, the Overland Park Crisis Action Team, also provides short-term and long-term approaches to help individuals with substance abuse addictions within our community. We constantly are at events where we distribute Narcan to the community and the public just to help them. We do have a new program where we offer peer coaches to those in the community, and what that program looks like is these coaches are people who used to be in this lifestyle and they're required to be clean for so long. Then with our Park Mental Health, they go through a structured training, and then they're assigned people in our community to help them get out of that lifestyle. All right. With that, do you guys have any questions?
Well, thank you both. Thank you all of you for the great presentation. I learned a lot and really appreciate it. I think maybe I'll start off with a question. I'm a parent of an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old, so elementary. And I wondered if you could share a bit more about what you see in Overland Park schools, or are drugs widely used, hardly used, and maybe a bit more about education. I remember doing the DARE program. I know some cities still do that. We don't. So what are you seeing?
Yeah. So as far as like formal curriculum in the schools, we don't have a formal curriculum that we put on mission or Blue Valley School District middle or high schools. I think it's kind of a as requested basis. Some teachers at the school may request the SRO come in and do a presentation on either the drug or prevention. I know last year we did a presentation to elementary schools for Red Ribbon Week. That's kind of on an invite basis if they want that in their schools. but we don't have an official curriculum that we put out each year talking about certain things. As far as the trends and what's occurring in the school district, I currently lead the Blue Valley School District as the captain over that. I can tell you that, do we see drugs in the schools? We do occasionally. I can't tell you, though, it's not something where I'd say there's an epidemic or we're any worse or any better than we were 5-10 years ago. I think you have a large population of people, whether that's juveniles, adults, you might see that. I don't see it as some epidemic that's out there that I would be, if I was a parent, that I would be concerned about with my child in Blue Valley or Shawnee Mission School District.
I think the big thing right now is we're seeing a lot of vape pens. And the issue is that they can buy these at the convenience stores legally because a lot of them are advertised as THCA, which is legal to buy because it doesn't become THC until it's heated up. However, that liquid is sold in the vape pen, so obviously they can only consume it up through that process. Those, unfortunately, are legal to buy, but we can successfully charge those. But we're seeing a lot of that, and they're coming back as Delta 8 and Delta 9, which is the end of the state of Kansas right now.
Are there other questions? Councilmember Reese.
Yeah, a few questions. This is very helpful. And I recognize that there's a lot of information and you didn't have, all day to cover this. So
Sure.
appreciate how you conduct that. You mentioned something early on about you can buy, let's say, marijuana in Missouri and then bring it to Kansas. Can you do that legally, or you can just do that because you've got a car and you can come across the line? Can you explain?
The second, yeah. You can buy in a different state where it's legal to purchase. As soon as you transport it across state lines, it becomes illegal to possess here in Kansas. So that that puts the officer in a decision of, well, they just purchased this. Is this an illegal possession? They do have the discretion if they issue that summons, that notice to appear for that or not. But either way, that drug would be confiscated in our jurisdiction or anywhere else in the state of Kansas because it's illegal to possess.
You mentioned early on about, like, paraphrasing, social norms changing. When I was growing up, marijuana was absolutely wrong. And now I can be, at my office in Kansas City, Mo, and, purchase it there.
Right.
Is that what you're referring to as how people's...
Yes, how the perceptions shift and they change. Whereas your classic crime types that we think of, in financial crimes or person crimes or property crimes, we could all at the table agree, hey, this is inherently wrong. This is inherently, we could assign it a number of scale 1 through 10 of how severe this is, where drugs constantly shifts as time moves forward as far as what do we want in society? What does our community want? And that's what we're constantly
Right now, it's like marijuana when you talk about that. Anything else that kind of fits into that?
I think just the other drug types, the analogs that we're talking about, the 7-0, the kratom, those sorts of things. I think those sometimes fall in line with some members of the community thinking that those aren't like your classic drugs that you grew up hearing about, methamphetamine, heroin, where we could say, those are always unsavory. I think some people look at some of the analogs that are out there that are marketed towards certain demographics. You might say those aren't as serious.
There was mention of creating ordinance that would ban some of these substances, realizing that House Bill 2230 might not get traction. Could we speak to that?
Well, we're still in the very early stages of exploring that option. One of the things we have to do is just confirm that we have a way to test those drugs, and we're working with the Johnson County Crime Lab in that area right now.
Okay. So what would be underneath that ordinance in the early phase? What's underneath that umbrella? Is it the 7-0 kratom? Is it something more than that?
I mean, we're still exploring that, but I think it could easily be any THC product that's sold at a convenience store, any synthetic product, so the kratom, and then all the edibles, the liquids, all of that. And we could ban the commercial sale of it to go after the businesses to prevent them from providing it to the community.
Okay. You mentioned early on the term vendor, but you didn't define that. Is that you're just referring to people that are selling it, like retail shops? Is that right? Maybe you don't remember using the word vendor.
Yeah. Were you talking about with the 7-0 or with?
Just, you said it early on. You talked about targeting the vendor. So it sounds like that might be retail shops or anybody else.
Yeah, it could be the retail shop. The vendor. It could be a street vendor as well, selling a classic drug type. The source of supply, whether that's a retail establishment or that's an individual in the community.
We got into a little bit. You were talking about for the Blue Valley School District, you're not seeing an uptick, but I'm really interested in, like, the number of cases and sort of the demographics with that. I went to the DEA and they talked to us like back when I was growing up, you could see a junkie a mile away, right? But now they talk about it, this could be that white collar 58-year-old male sitting at a consulting firm, chained to a desk all day and, using. Any sense do we have a perspective of Overland Park drug use and in terms of the cases, the caseload, and what we're seeing?
Yeah, I can't give you a broad brushstroke on what that looks like with demographic. I really can't. I mentioned earlier there's different prices with different drug types. There's different accessibility. There's different supply chains. So a lot of times that's going to limit your demographic on what that looks like. But you did see a resurgence in the early 2000s to mid 2000s with doctors overprescribing opioids, and a lot of that was the social acceptance. Those were individuals in the community who didn't want the social stigma of using hard drugs like heroin and things like that, and they shifted to doctors. And then you heard about the doctors that were profiting, working with pharmaceuticals and overprescribing opioids. So you saw that social stigma at play right there, and I think that's what makes it hard. Is even the individuals who have substance use disorder don't want that stigma, and so it is really hard to point out what that demographic is going to look like. Addiction, substance use disorder, that it knows no bounds. Socioeconomic, gender, race, nothing. So I can't give you a general brushstroke of what that would look like with any of these drugs from the demographics.
Probably the last question right now. The crime map was interesting, and I think we worked in the last year to make sure that was incorporating, drug incidents and that. Can you speak to the crime map and maybe how the average citizen would use that to create some general awareness about drugs?
Yeah, I think it's good for them to just see, because what you're going to see in the crime map is generally going to be patrol encountering the narcotic on the street and then creating an offense report and arresting someone. A lot of times we, in our unit, receive tips, and our investigations stem from other avenues that aren't documented in this crime map because it's considered intelligence, and we're working it from various different avenues. Another issue too with the crime map is, say someone goes into the police station to do a station report. Well, it's categorized likely as a station report, and they're not going to reclassify it, and so it's not going to show up as a narcotic complaint.
Councilmember Eunice, and then we'll go to Councilmember Thomas.
Question about the gas station heroin 7-OH. Can you walk me through exactly how it's consumed? Can a 12-year-old just walk into a gas station and purchase it, or is there some sort of, what are the obstacles to?
So, off the top of my head, I don't know if it's as easy as buying a pack of cigarettes or a lottery ticket. I'm not sure what kind of credentials you need to show at a gas station to acquire it. But speaking on what different forms, it'll come in presented as an energy drink. It'll come as presented as a pill. Now, the thing about 7H is it has different physiological effects based on the potency of it and how much you consume. If you consume a small amount of 7H, it's going to have a stimulant effect, where it'll be broadcasted as providing you energy. If you consume a high dose of 7H, it's going to have more of an opiate-like effect, where you're going to have the respiratory depression, which could lead to asphyxia, and that's when an overdose would occur. Now, luckily, we have not had any documented overdose cases of 7.0 in Overland Park, but there have been in the Kansas City metro area.
And Narcan can be used on those products because it is a synthetic opioid, so it could stop that overdose until we can get them medical care.
Is there an education piece to this, I hope? Because, if it's easily accessible at a gas station and teenagers are able to just buy it.
So we do that annually in the schools through the school resource officers, and we educate them and the staff, the students, and their families on this. But we do what we can. I know there's a lot of, there's some articles that he mentioned, the child death article that was quoted up there. Obviously, the legislation has a lot of attention with it also, but we're doing the best we can to educate the community.
There's a lot of, on that, there's a lot of literature on the East Coast, primarily in Philadelphia and in Pennsylvania, and along especially New Jersey, where this issue is a lot more prevalent. just based on the proliferation of these products. But like anything else, that has made it to our shores as well. So there is some literature and some news articles about gas station heroin in the KC metro area.
I have one more question about like edibles. When children get into edibles and then end up in the emergency room, is there any sort of recourse, or does that trigger any sort of law enforcement recourse of social services or investigations, or
Sure.
how is that treated?
Yeah, if a child shows up at a hospital and it appears that it was a drug overdose or they had access to drugs, yeah, social services would be involved to provide family resources and see if we need to step in and help the family. But I mean, as far as like a criminal investigation, it just depends. We would look at it to find out where the kid got it. A lot of times when we look at the overdose approach of it, if it's like a street drug, we try to go after the dealer who did provide the drug to them. But if they're buying it at a gas station, it's very difficult to prove, well, where did they get it? Did they get it from a friend who bought it at the gas station? We just don't know.
I'm talking more like a toddler that gets into some edibles that their parents left on them.
Oh, absolutely. The parent would be looked at for potential criminal neglect.
Councilmember Fox.
So one of the things that was mentioned was last month there was a significant seizure of illegal drugs at a residence that was a short-term rental. I'm not going to ask the question to get into that circumstance because I'm sure that's an open investigation given that it just happened, right? That said, we had a lot of discussion a while back about creating some ordinances around short-term rentals, right? And I think there's a lack of agreement on the council, maybe with the mayor, maybe with a lot of people, and that's kind of gotten nowhere. And I don't know if it's still going on as evaluation. I think Jack was kind of running traps on that. I don't know if that's dead or not dead, but the only thing I would say is that this is another. I'm one of those people that thinks we should have rules around that. So I won't be the one advancing this, but I just put this on the record. I think whatever the outcome of that is, I would like to see some coordination with whoever's running traps on whatever the ordinance might be. And what we found out was that the owner of the place using it that way? Was that someone just coming through there? What could we learn about not having that happen again? Because this is obviously the kind of thing that a short-term rental can produce. I don't like it.
I wish they'd take the presentation thing down
saying,
so we could see what was happening.
It would be nice for the police department to coordinate with you or Jack on whoever's going to kind of lead that discussion on is there anything we can learn and what we can do with and
I was going to say, did it mute?
rentals to
I
to deal
thought
with that.
I
So I'll just
unplugged
put
my
that on the
thing.
record.
I guess it did.
Any additional questions?
Maybe somebody
I've got
tripped.
one more. As you think about your enforcement approach on narcotics, would you say you prioritize those vendors and the dealers or possession? How do you prioritize?
Yeah, we really do prioritize the sources of supply. So if we look at this, we want to go after the sources of supply because that should lower supply, and then hopefully with the education, the prevention aspect, we're going to lower demand at the same time doing that. But our enforcement efforts really are towards the sources, the people who are profiting from other people's substance use disorder. We want to hold those people accountable.
And if someone were with someone who were experiencing a medical consequence as a result of using drugs, should they feel comfortable calling for help, or should they be worried that they or their friend might get in trouble?
No, absolutely. They should contact 911, police department, send help. If we can get there and we can employ, but we can employ Narcan to help the individual. There was recent legislation where if that person has user quantities of drugs still with them, whether it's the person calling, the Good Samaritan, this is the Good Samaritan Act, the person calling or the person experiencing the overdose, they won't be charged with that possession because we do want people in the community to feel safe calling for help.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to invite Tim DeWeese and Brian Diener to the table. Welcome. Tim is a member of our mental health advisory committee, as well as the Johnson
Okay, well
County
now
Mental
they
Health
turn it
Director.
on.
And Brian Wiener, Assistant City Manager, and I know we're probably working on getting the next PowerPoint up, but asked Brian and Tim to be here tonight to talk about the Mental Health Advisory Committee.
So I guess that's it for our part.
Yeah,
As we prepare
it was
to
just a
look at
presentation.
our, city, state legislation.
Those
But
cops
boy,
seem like they were level-headed, though.
yeah, they did. But they have got Kratom and 7OH interchangeable. They got it
Yeah,
mixed up.
it's like it's so crazy because they like the presentation was pretty decent. Like he's clear. Didn't really mention a whole lot about kratom and everything, and then all of a sudden they start interchanging the whole kratom with 7-0.
Heidi's hilarious.
I read that. I was like, that's a genius.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, y'all couldn't see the presentation on the screen because it went black, like my man. But Jen had sent me the presentation, and it looks like a good presentation. It really does.
Yeah.
But they keep saying kratom and 7OH, you know, and it's like,
Yeah, I hate that I couldn't. I thought about like sharing my whole window so everybody could just see me switching, but I know it echoes when I do that,
yeah,
and so I didn't want to. But I mean, the presentation was really decent. Did you
yeah,
see how much fentanyl they found in that house,
yeah.
dude? 9 pounds of fentanyl in October 2025 in one
Pull up
house.
the presentation on here.
Oh
Screen share it.
yeah, but I was like, golly, that's a lot. Yeah, this is the fentanyl. That's a lot. I guess that's
Enough to
it right
kill
there.
2 million people.
That's insane. At an Airbnb.
Man.
And then they go on, so this is the 7OH presentation. It even says 7OH and kratom are often marketed
Merged
together.
together. Yeah. So now they're going to think about trying to write up their own like citywide ordinance to try to ban the sale. And it's like, but now they're lumping kratom in with that bullshit.
Yeah. Well, and apparently they were really hoping that the ban bill would have went through.
That wasn't even a ban bill that they were talking about. Let me go pull it back up. I went and looked at it when they were talking.
And then they said that he's going to try. Oh, that's continued. So it's unregulated. The potency and quality can vary depending on the product, which is true. Kratom is not a controlled substance at the federal level. In July, the FDA, and see, that's what I'm saying. While kratom is not a controlled substance, the FDA formally recommended the DEA add 7. So it's like you keep interchanging. It's almost like when you plant a seed subconsciously. Like I feel like that's what it does when you interchange 7OH and kratom like that.
Please share this guy's name with me that's talking now, Dog. Oh, we left the stream.
Oh, I think that's the mental health. He must be a mental health doctor. Oh God, it's even more. An excerpt from the Kansas state. And he also said, like, he was very upfront with, like, having issues in the school because, they're always save the kids, save the kids. So, I mean, if it was, like, a really bad issue in schools, he would have been like, yeah, not only have we seen an uptick in, like, drugs at schools, but it's been 7OH. So, I think that's a good sign. That's showing that there's.
But the HB 2230 bill that he was talking about, it was filed in February of this year. It's enacting the KCPA. It's defining kratom as a food product, prohibiting the distribution and sale of kratom that is adulterated, requiring persons to be at least 21 years of age to purchase. All that good stuff.
Well, hopefully, I mean, maybe it will gain traction in 2026 if that's the case. Because it says we will recommend again to the legislator. I don't know. That just seems. I mean, that might be just one of the. Because I mean, dude, they might have been wrong about that. A lot of times these legislators or lawmakers are like wrong about a lot of stuff. Maybe that's just the one thing they're wrong about.
Now we're gonna have to push for freaking. Where was this? Kansas City, Kansas, right? Is it Kansas?
Yeah. Kansas City.
Yeah, we.
Wow.
Do you?
Well, I mean,
I was gonna say, do you want to pull it back up? But they already went through the Kratom 7OH presentation.
yeah. What? Hold up. Hold up, hold up, hold up.
Therapy where some people are actually calling, they maybe think they're talking with a real person,
Look.
but they're actually talking with an AI generated therapist. So we want to look and see and
What am I
make
looking-
sure that
It says
while
708.
our center utilizes AI, we call it augmented.
I think they've already went
intelligence
over that
because
part,
at the end
man.
of the day,
Can I
the
rewind?
clinicians are the ones that are making decisions. We
Okay,
may
let's stay on here.
utilize AI to
Okay.
help get to the best clinical decision. But
That
at the end of
always
the day, it's
happens
still
when
going to be a human being that's making that decision
Every time.
and developing that relationship. And so making sure that we keep our eye out for that. And I think that will continue to be something that again gets traction. Again, on all these, I don't know that there'll be much traction on anything. So I really think that the majority of these things are probably going to be more 27, moving into 27. And so I think that's an opportunity for us to know that these are going to kind of be the things that are going to be put in place so that we can have conversations now at the local level to determine what the best action would be and how the city wants to respond, how the county wants to respond, and be able to do these. The one that I brought up, proposed legislation around, there's something called the Armory Project or TAP, and basically that is where we currently are working with federal firearm licensees or holders, where they will voluntarily collect, temporarily hold firearms for individuals who are suicidal. So they'll take those firearms, and there is one local firearm dealer that is in DeSoto.
This is the last
and
part of their
they
presentation
have
on this.
Up in Arms is
Looks
the
like.
name of that dealership. They go ahead and will take firearms and store them for a period of time on a voluntary basis, and there are a lot of other firearm dealers that would do the same thing, but there are concerns that they have about liability issues, civil liability issues. And so there's been a couple states, in particular Kansas and Louisiana. Again, I don't know that this is going to get much traction, although it is something that the Mental Health Center ourselves are working with a couple of legislators to actually introduce a bill and push this. What we see in Johnson County is that well over 50% of all the deaths by suicide in Johnson County are due to firearms. And so if you would have asked me 10 years ago whether I would be handing out gun locks at the Community Mental Health Center, I would have said no. But in fact, I think we've handed out 5,000 just since we've started about a year and a half ago. So it is about promoting smart gun ownership and securing firearms and teaching individuals how to secure those firearms. We actually also provide safes for folks to do that. This is just one other way, and it typically started with the Armory Project with veterans. Veterans tend to also be folks that have firearms, and so the Armory Project really started with veterans, and it's expanded into other states with this introduction of some civil liability legislation to protect the gun owners. And so that's something that we will be working with the legislature on, hopefully moving that forward this year as well, since it doesn't seem to be a big press on a lot of stuff. Those are the things that we as a group talked about. All of those things that are still important. I think that we want to also keep our eye out, just to throw out there about access to critical housing resources to address the issue of homelessness within our communities. And I think that I do believe that here in Overland Park and frankly in the county as a whole, we do a really good job of addressing the issue from a criminal justice standpoint, but we also address it from a substance use standpoint. So it was good to hear us talk about, we're going to focus on the dealers and the folks that are benefiting from the folks that are addicted, and that then we're also going to help get the people addicted. So in those two ways, I think that's how you collaboratively address the issue. So that's something that I think we really do well in our community, and it's apparent by the presentation today. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Tim, thanks for being here. We go back one slide. Tim, did the group have a chance to look at this language from the platform itself? Is this doing the job, or is there changes we should consider when we revise the platform? I think it'll be probably next month.
Yeah, so I think that this statement basically says, that we're going to support whatever those individuals' issues are. So I think it creates a mechanism for us then to have those conversations. I think that it's way better than the previous statement, I think, 2 years ago. So
which you guys reviewed. Yeah.
Right.
You
So
reviewed this.
So it's much better, and I think that on the whole, folks in the advisory group feel good about this statement. The key is that when then we have situations where we want to support or have the city support an issue or a specific issue that may be coming up, that then we have a process to do that. And basically this message is saying, yeah, we'll do that as those things come up, and then we'll make recommendations through this committee, and then you all can take it up and then decide what the next step would be. So I think that avenue is there, and I think that this gives the message that sets that avenue, that approach. That was a long answer to say yes. I think it's fine.
Glad to hear that. Are there other questions from the committee? Well, Tim, thanks for being here and being a great partner on the health side of this situation. So it was great to have you here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to use the chair's prerogative to move the next information item to the end of the meeting. So we'll move into action items. So the first action item will be approval of minutes from the July 9th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the minutes from July 9th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes unanimously. Next, on by Jared McPhee to the table. Jared is the city's emergency management coordinator. Welcome, Jared, and you're here to talk to us about an agreement with the Mid-America Regional Council allowing for emergency response and recovery.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So basically today, I just want to present you with the Regional Resource Sharing Agreement. So if you mind, next slide. So basically what this agreement is it's a non-obligatory agreement
Now I wonder if
that
it's safe to
allows us as
leave.
jurisdictions within the
I'm
metro
looking
to
at
be able
the
to share staff and
slide
resources during
just to
disaster,
see if it says
crisis, or
anything.
just prolonged events that we need extra support for. Um, It is
I don't see
meant as
anything
an
about
agreement
it.
of last resort. So traditionally, whenever we
It's
have
got like bomb teams,
support that's lined out
hazmat,
between jurisdictions
but
with
I don't see anything
MOUs that
about like
exists or
drugs or
memorandums of
alcohol or
understanding,
anything.
and those are really the priority of what we want to use when we're sharing resources. But there's always scenarios where we can't account for everything that we may need help with, and this agreement is really designed to set of it's a framework and guidelines so that if we have an incident that arises where we don't have an MOU in place, this serves as a framework for us to do that ad hoc during the incident.
Oh man.
You can next slide. So some of the key benefits for this within the region, we order and we maintain a lot of very expensive regional
Oh man, I
resources.
keep
So you
yawning.
can kind of see some examples up there. Some of our bomb teams, our hazmat equipment. One of the new things that's really coming online is anything related to drone mitigation. All those technologies and those capabilities are very, very expensive. And so we share those across jurisdictionally. So one
Okay, I
jurisdiction
think
does not
so
have to
too.
maintain all
Yeah,
those
I do
multiple
too.
resources. So with that,
Oh, I gotta mute that dude too, cause okay.
I got tears in my eyes.
Oh man, that was funny.
I love when we can make Heidi laugh though, because I don't know if she's in Wisconsin tonight or Illinois, but either way.
Yeah, I think it's probably. It looks like they're just talking about like bomb. Oh gosh.
Hazmat stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, my phone's at 19%. That's like, ooh, that's like a low for me. Usually I freak out
Me
if it's on
too.
36, man.
Me too. Like I don't know how my daughters be doing. They'll let their phone get to like 2%, and then they're, oh, I
Yeah,
need
and
a
I'm like, oh
charger.
my God.
I start freaking out at 20.
That's what I'm saying. It's like trying to give it CPR or something to make sure it lives. All right, well, I guess that wasn't too bad, you know.
Yeah, I guess y'all just be on the lookout for whatever Overland Park, Kansas is going to do.
Yeah.
Hopefully the
Or
Wicked Witch of the West, Wicked Witch of the East. The petty
flies
mofos.
on over there.
Yeah.
Our little broomstick.
The broken broomstick.
Oh God. Oh goodness gracious. All right, well I guess we'll get off here, but at least I was informed. You're gonna make me start yawning. I'm usually the one yawning every 5 seconds.
You know what? It's because I haven't had a pop all day. I haven't had Dr. Pepper.
Oh yeah, I had mine earlier today. Oh goodness gracious. All right, well everybody have a good rest